Hello everybody, in this occasion I talk about some topics about didactics. The first one is first language acquisition. Do you know what is first language acquisition? It's time to know. As you know, it's one of the most important aspects of the human development. It's acquired by the children in the first stage. The children develop this stage in-house. In this case, the parents have an important role because they influence the development of the children. In other words, the parents are a teacher. First, the children practice input. This stage is when they get information, they listen. Then, the children practice output when they develop other skills, that is speaking. But the children speaking what they have heard before. In this time, they acquire knowledge on consciousness. Now, I mentioned some steps that have this process. Coin, when the children speak like a song with the vowels, for example, o, and others. Other step is bubbly, when the children speak like a song but with consonant and vowel, for example, ma, da, and others. The other step is the one-word stage, is when the children reproduce mom, dad, water, and other words. The other stage is the two-word stage, when the children reproduce more words and want to communicate with using two words. For example, mommy, water, daddy, boy. The other step is telegraphic speech, when the children can develop a conversation but they speak with short phrase. For example, how are you today? And the children answer, I am fine, but can't develop other words. Now, we know what step that the children pass in the process that acquire first language acquisition. So, it's necessary to know that can exist the possibility that you acquire the second language acquisition. Let's go.
Know more about the second language acquisition. Let's know what it contains. Easily refers to the study of how students learn a second language additionally of the first language. Ways to learn a second language. It can be in a formal process, as in a classroom by attending a school. Is completely conscious and the students really want to learn. It is said that the children are the best learners because they learn faster. For example, Alejandra is the secretary of a lawyer office, but her boss had told her that he needs a person who can understand English. Alejandra has demonstrated dedication and the boss said the office will pay the studies because she is a good worker. Now Alejandra doesn't know nothing about English. She arrives to an academy and she is in the first level. She is learning vocabulary and she is complaining so much.
Language learning is complex a process of discovering and compute basis of interletter symbols, and the most important, the language as social and unique human means of representing, exploring, and community means, and in when you acquire conscious knowledge. To speak, it is necessary knowledge rule, grammatical rules, and the moment you can acquire these formal ways because some people like to teach knowledge about the other language and the present method based in process. For example, in school, we teach formal and conscious because you decide which language you want to learn. Formal organized by levels, thought by method. Silent method. Students learn from the now to now. Total physical response. Listening and action. Community language. Working together. Audio-lingual method. Correction, repetition, and motivation. Focus on community. Skill translation is not the grammar and vocabulary quite directly from third language. Implicit focus on context and example. Explicit role learning. Individual variation, learning style, fossilization, make mistake and pronounce bad thing. Language learn stage. Pre-production 500 words. Early production 1000 words. Speech emerging 3,000 words simple and short forms. Intermediate fluency 6,000 words. Advanced fluency. Language learning is complex a process.
Hello, I have other interesting topic for this day. There is general grammar. Obviously, generative grammar talks about the generative at the moment to learn a language, focusing the grammar. As now that when you learn a language you need know rules that they stipulate in a book or the teacher teach. First one, we need to know what is syntax. Syntax is a science that studies the structure of the sentence. So, syntax covers many rules at the moment to speech or writing. It's necessary to know that the syntax is focused in the writing, but in some cases in the speaking, but the formal speaking. At the moment to speak, syntax study accounts of the articulation for the sentence is a called phonetics, other is phonology. At the moment to writing, morphology studies something about grammar. In conclusion, syntax is the level of the language that lies between words and the meaning of the utterance. Syntax, in other words, is rules. We need to know the difference between language with style capital letter and language without capital letter. The first one is referred to the language that developed as a skill, and the other referred to the language for example, English, Spanish, French, and others. Syntax apply methods, scientific methods. Syntax has a different rules, prescriptive. Some of these are prescriptive and descriptive. Prescriptive is how people should speak according to some standard, and descriptive is this how do people actually speak. We need to focus on descriptive rules because they are more important. Now, as a question, do rules really exist? Yes, exist. Whatever formal rules really exist in the brain of the minds of focus of a speaker. Now, continue with other interesting topics.
Let's continue with the topic interlanguage. The term interlanguage was introduced by the American linguist Larry Serlinger to the linguistic system evidence when an adult second language learners attempt to express meanings in a language they are in process of learning. A central characteristic is that it fossilizes. This linguistic system encompasses not just phonology, morphology, and syntax, but also the lexical, pragmatic, and discourse levels of interlanguage. The 5 psycholinguistic processes of psychological structures are native language transfer, overgeneralization of target language, rules, transfer of trainings, strategies of communication, and strategies of learning. An example of the facilitation is number 1. I have 20 years old. It is because learners use verb to have instead of verb to be. And the number 2 is, do you know where is she? This happens because learners doesn't know to make ambiguous questions. The input hypothesis. The input hypothesis is Krashen's attempt to explain how learners acquire a second language. How second language acquisition takes place. The input hypothesis is only concerned with the acquisition, not learning. According to this hypothesis, the learning improves and progresses when he or she receives second language input, that is, a step beyond his/her current stage of linguistic competence. In order to help someone to learn how to drive, we must first